Hello, everyone. Hope you guys are doing all right tonight. You've had a good weekend so far. I'd like to start. I'm going to start with these surpassing disciplines for the next few days until I cover every single one. I'm going to start doing the paradigms of magic, which is basically the structure of magic for all our communities. No matter what you practice, you'll pretty much will be able to find one or whatever you practice, find in one of these modules or combination thereof. The paradigms of magic are basic. You have the energy model, the spiritual model, which is the first one we'll be covering, the psychological model, and the chaostrasic model or chaos model. It basically is the structure of, it's how we structure our magic. Learning about them will also help us be able to utilize them more. Better understanding of how, when we do ritual work, spell work, or work of any type in the magical spheres, that somewhere it's covered in one of these modules. I figured it was kind of important I covered these before I got back into the outline of a ritual. With that said, we'll get started. In magic, we work with a number of magical objects, words such as charge and uncharged, and talk about things such as storing power. In order to better understand such concepts, it would be a good idea to first take a look at the various models of magic of the past and present, especially since this will also play a significant role when we later discuss the use of talisman and cyber magic. When we're ready, keep in mind that the categories listed are merely meant to help illustrate our point and rarely occur in the simplified. Pure from stated here, a mixture of various forms is generally the rule. The spirit model, surely the oldest paradigm of magic, we assume the existence of a real supernatural being, spirits, demons, angels, helpers, etc. And the magician can communicate with them. I'd like to also note, when we're dealing with the God forms and stuff, or calling on deities, whatever your particular path believes in, this is also part of the spiritual model, which is also found in Christianity with the Holy Spirit. They just have a different understanding and misinterpretation of it, in a sense. And the magician can communicate with them, get to know them, become friends with them, or submit themselves as servants to them. Hence, the magician acts as a mediator between life on earth and everyday reality and the world beyond. This model is still characteristics of all types of shamanism. Mostly people base their opinions of magic on it as well. In Western Europe, this model enjoyed the greatest popularity during the Renaissance and still used by traditionalist magicians today. In this day of age, it can be found in the magic of Bardin and Gregorius, while the entire Golden Dawn system and the great part of the OTO teachings are based on it as well, just as the majority of German occultism in the 1920s. Master Aleister Crowley used a mixed form as well, as we'll see later on. In the spirit model, the goal of the magician is to attain access to the world of creatures that will be described here as magical entities. This world has its own set of laws that the magician must learn in order to survive and utilize the power of the entities. In that statement there, I want you to try to give you a different perspective on the tree of life. Each sphere is given a God name. It has angels ruling it. As we traverse the tree, we interact in those spheres, or sephira, and learn through the various entities, intelligence, even our planets. See, that's where you're gonna find that the spirit form also takes part into the planetary magic, a lot of earth-based magic. It is pretty much, well, in a sense, the sphere of conjuring and invocation of the spirits, whether it be elemental, planetary, zodiac, angelic, demon, or what may. Faith, so much can be categorized into this that I think a lot of people don't understand, especially when you hear the Golden Dawn, the OTO, a few other ones say low magic. Well, not really. Every belief and practice has their own little steps in here that nobody would say otherwise. I mean, our goal is to always ascend beyond each model, but we're still going to use each of these in our everyday practices. Eventually we just get to the point we don't even realize we do it. This world has its own set of laws, which I already read. Utilizes the power of the entities. Each entity has its own name, formula, and displays its specific, unmistakable character, and can therefore be considered an individual personality that has strengths and weaknesses. With the help of trance or gnosis, which is a term I use more often than not, the magician travels to their realm where one can either make friends with them or have them serve oneself, provided that one has enough power and knowledge to do so. Such relationships can be quite dangerous at times, since some spirits, such as demons, may not be all that eager to serve the magician, and or just might want not like him or her. Which also goes on to state, when you're dealing in that realm of things, they prefer to make bargains, and do nothing for free. I'd like to remind you guys that, remember this, they have to. There ain't no wheeling and dealing. We have dominion over all things, angels included, and especially demons. We don't make deals. We command. But that's I'll leave that for other discussions. Most of you guys know that dealing with this, you know what I'm talking about. And those that are not, you shouldn't be dealing with this until you grasp the fundamental teachings first. And they often charge a high price for their service, which could require blood sacrifices or something similar. A well-known example of this is the pact that Dr. Frost made with the devil, selling one's soul in return for material and intellectual success. And basically, dude was an idiot. He allowed himself to be tricked, deceived, because in truth, he had dominion and power over that said entity. Nothing should be in exchange, not energies, nothing. He was just some ignorant fool that wanted power fast and was willing to give up anything for it instead of do the work and learn. See, guys, there's a reason why people like Aleister Crowley taught repetition. Told you, if you guys, you tell me, if I told you to practice something, you tell me you practiced it 100 times, I'm going to tell you, well, go practice it 1,000 times. You come back after that, I'm going to tell you to go practice it 10,000 times until that practice and action is automatic. It's like saying a word till you forget it. Basically, you're imprinting that word into your mind. And whatever reason for it, when you hear that word or speak that word, or when something happens around you that would trigger that, it becomes instantaneous without thought. It just happens, which is the ideal of your walking circle when you create your own walking circle. Although the exact terms of such pacts are a matter of negotiation, there's always the danger. Just as we humans are the breach of contract, a new interpretation of the agreement, or other difficulties. So the magician needs to be continually alert unless one only works with good spirits, with integrity that one can trust completely. And on that note, I also want to make a statement. When it says good spirits, every spirit has its own goal, own agenda. And yes, you know, some deal like with angels and stuff. You try to treat them with respect, but do not forget you still have dominion over them. Because as it's been widely thought, even mentioned in some of John Dee's books, when he was working with the Enochian, it seemed that the angels had their own agenda. Wanted to bring about things that may not been moral to them at the time, or to see how far they could push them. I've studied Enochian for a while, pretty fundamentals with his teachings and practices. So, you know, even when it says dealing with the good entities, they still have its own agendas, its own things that might not be what you're trying to get accomplished. And when dealing with spirits, guys, any type, whatever you're wanting, you need to be precise with your wording, leaving no loopholes, no realm for them to roam about anywhere else other than straight to the point and fact. What needs to be done, nothing else harmed. No chaos in the mix. Well, you need to properly, D&D players would understand the wish spell, the ultimate dick-me piece of DM can get you, because no matter how well you word it, you can find a loophole in it. The object is to make less loopholes, so there's no argument of what the intent is and what the job to be done. It doesn't matter if it's good, bad, entity. They all have their own personal agenda, personal idea, personal intelligence. You guys have to remember that. You're dealing with intelligence. So never trust them. You as a magician, it is your will, and that's what's to be done. No sidestepping. And I know a lot of people will say, well, I'm dealing good. No, it doesn't matter. Number one, how do you know that is that entity unless you have its real name? You know, that's the drawback dealing with the spiritual world. You really can't be 100% precise what comes through. From what I had said above, it is clear that spiritualism which originated in America in the mid-19th century and is still popular all over the world today, now often called channeling by New Agers, is an excellent example of the spirit module, even though it generally focuses on divination and prayer instead of an actual magical operation. Once the magician has secured the assistance of one's spirits, demons, either with friendly pact or through force, one uses its magic the same way one would use the assistance of a common human helper as well. But since these entities are immaterial, they can work on levels that common servants cannot, such as the astral plane. Plus, most spirits are specialists that are generally superior to the magician in their field of expertise, which is really the only reason we summon those spirits. We're looking for that field of expertise either to learn from it or strengthening what our works that we're trying to do, which in a lot of cases is what the Lesser Keys of Solomon or the Jouette is used for. It's not used to actually summon the demon. It is used to summon the intelligence and its specific field. A cheat, so to speak. Plus, for an example, a magician would summon the Mercury demon Tefeta, I can't even pronounce that word, never have been able to, Tefara, to achieve magical goals that are related to the Mercury sphere, which, while the Mars demon, Barsabul, would be summoned to destroy an opponent or to learn the art of warfare. Or one could use a planetary intelligence such as Yophiel, Jupiter's sphere, to improve one's state of property. The magician generally has certain spirits of one's own that are specialized in certain areas: healing, making rain, protection, etc. For an example, instead of sending healing power to a sick person from a distance, the magician can send one spirit helper directly to the patient. Spirits and demons want attention or want to be fed, and can rebel or demand a pay raise. And they're not infallible. Just because they're experts don't mean that they can not make mistakes or fail, but in generally they can expand the magician's scope of action considerably, although the quality of one's magic depends on the amount of control one has over such spirits, which should be total control because you have command over them, all things. Guys, when I'm dealing with spiritual model, I will utter that phrase till I'm blue in the face, till you get the point. They have no control over you. You have control. And therefore, anything they do is on you for not properly wording things and not properly commanding them to do, excuse me, and leaving one too many loopholes for them to go astray and cause mayhem and chaos. So those are the basic concepts of the spiritual model. It requires a magician to explore an already existing world and to learn and follow its rules right down to the last detail. For example, if one does not know the true name or the correct formula that gives power over such transcendental entities, all of one's effort to gain control of them will be in vain. Even the means of communication with these entities or their magical language needs to be learned. And much of this knowledge is guarded secretly and only passed on directly from master to apprentice. Therefore, through training is generally required before magical operation can be performed. One last note on the spiritual model, and one that most don't even realize is a major part of it, and a very important one to the magician. When we take oaths and vows, which is also part of this model, and one that opens us up to many of the things spoken in here, most just look at the vows and oaths as words said, not what they really are, and that is foundation set in the spirit model. That opens us up to a world of theirs, something for you to think on before you take your next vow or oath. Yes, because when you take oaths and vows, you're actually binding yourself to certain set entities, whether it be angelic, demonic, because those are the ones that will come to you if you go astray from those oaths and vows. And I think most of you by now know my feelings and opinions on those oaths and vows. If they have anything to do with secrecy and silence, because that's not what silence is supposed to be about, you're making a mistake, and you're just basically cutting off your spiritual growth. You're not going to grow any farther. And it's also one of the things that's throughout the ages has kept our communities divided. As you can see, when you do tarot divination, you're actually working in the spirit module. Most people don't realize that. Most people think that when they're doing such things, they are following other avenues. I mean, here of late I've been seeing a lot in certain groups of spirit magic going on through divination. You just do scrying through a mirror using candles of smoke that comes up. You got to remember, entities are drawn to that once because you're opening the door when you do that. The Ouija board's based off spirit magic. But as you can see, clear down to shamanism takes its roots. So when I hear people talk about, I'm mainly the groups I've been taught from, I get tired of the high magic, low magic. In truth, I use very little of the spirit model. I use pretty much other models, and because as we learn to get away from it to the next stage of evolution. I don't want to say to the next evolved state, which in this case would be the energy module, which we will be talking about next. But as you can see, the fundamental roots of all magic started with this module. I mean, we still use aspects of it because it's all around us. But we start working off the other modules mainly to protect us from them and from us in a sort of twisted way, because we don't want that give and take. We don't want, oh, you need energy, so if you do this for me, no, you're going to do this for me. Now, if you do the job right, I might reward you. But nowhere in there is a contract or deal made. Your reward should be helping me and helping someone else. But that's like I spoke of the tree. We use the tree as we go through it to learn from each Sephira. And the intelligence, the mysteries, the unknown. That's where the spirit world really takes effect. There's other ways to do it, but it takes, like I said, each one's like a stepping stone. Eventually we break free from it. We realize, oh, I can do it this way without dealing here, but we're always going to be a part of the spirit world. It's a part of us. It's part of everything around us. You know? I mean, for me, I have to be careful dealing with any spirit magic because being an empath, I'm very susceptible, which is why I do a lot of, when I deal with that type of situation, I jump to the energy module and rely on energy over having spirit. But I also know that I am in charge. I have full control and command over these things. That is our God-given right. You know, whether it's commanding through power words. See, even so our words has its starting basis in the spiritual world. Our breath. Because if we breathe those words, speak them, we charge them. There's many, like I said, there's many forms that we can actually see from what I've read to you guys. There's many forms of different cultures and practices that we can find in that. And that's the thing, guys. Don't be afraid to research other belief systems. You know, when I wrote up the Paradigms of Magic, that was like 10, 11, 12 years ago. And probably longer than that. You know, I've shared them as written posts for years now. It's the first time I actually sat down and wanted to do a video on them, explaining them better. Because each one is a structure. It's a beginning of a formula. It's how you start to put pieces together, like using the planetary aspects, using the intelligence as a spirit from each. When we jump into numerology, a lot of its base foundation starts here and goes through each of the modules. The only module that throws everything that we teach is the last one I'll talk about, which is kind of my favorite. But even I have evolved away from that one, because as I pointed out, these are just stepping stones to cyber magic, which is a different form. It takes our ability and consciousness to a new level, to where we're not relying on these modules that basically become primitive and archaic. But they always have their purpose, and they have their use. They're stepping stones and teaching. I mean, sometimes, you know, like me, maybe I want to do some divination, and I don't want to rely on my empathy to always do it. I want to rely on my tarot decks, which, as I discussed, or I'm still working on, just doing a separate one on the tarot deck and the magical alphabets. Those are part of me. I've created them. I've given them life. So therefore, they actually have a spirit of their own, an intelligence of their own, unlike the bought ones you buy. The bought ones you buy are just that, somebody else's. How many hands touched that when they were making it? how many influences there are on that. These are the things that nobody ever questions. Like for people that like buying crystals, especially quartz. Well, guys, it's better to go out and find your own. And you can buy or make your own tumblers. The powders and stuff to do it is cheap. There's a reason why, because you're creating your own. Because especially the quartz, they take on the energy, the properties that's around them. They're actually kind of like, in a sense, they're kind of like a computer's hard drive that can't be erased. Ever. And those in the paranormal community, you've heard of residual hauntings. So a lot of places, the first thing they go looking for, well, is there how much quartz is around? Because it's like a memory stone. If you could read it, the things you could see. Oh, for some odd reason, my earpiece just don't want to stay in tonight. But the spirit module is fun. Because like I said, most of your base divinations come from it. Language is part of it. But as you grow and learn, you start incorporating the other modules, adding it to the language, charging it, giving it power. You start relying less on other entities, but on your own self to create an entity. To give it life. Which is the importance of actually understanding the spiritual module. And it's why I'm doing the whole series on each one. That way you'll have it on basically audio. You'll understand as you listen to them and hear some of my feedback and commentary. Eventually I hope people actually start joining so I can actually do a question and answer session after each of these. Because your guys' input's important. We learn from each other as well. It's just not my voice coming through. I have no problem sharing the link when I'm running out of Hangouts to share with you guys to come into and be able to ask a question or via chat. It's just, like I said, it's just another tool we have to where we can actually hold group discussions within our communities and groups. So, like I said, these are going to be probably quick and short until we start getting people in. More people involved, asking questions. And if you got questions, leave them at the bottom as a comment. I'll answer. And you got ideas you want to hear, something you want to talk about. The only thing I can kind of say I can't help with is anything Wiccan-based. I don't have the knowledge. I can point you in directions where to go until I find someone that's willing to participate in that field of expertise and come on and do these discussions with you. My eventual goal for all these, anything we do for KOTR, because that's what this stream is to have a group of individuals from each of our communities sharing our ideas, thoughts, how we practice. So, in a sense, yes, I'm working out of the spiritual module right now myself, creating something for everyone. to participate and take part of. You guys, so if you guys want to get updates and stuff, subscribe to my channel. Make sure you click on that bell. Click that check mark in the box so you get updates when I go live. Hit like if you like these videos. Comment. Believe it or not, I enjoy comments, whether they're negative or not, because I learn from the comments as well. We all do. It gives me ideas. What? Okay, maybe we need to talk about this next. Because believe me, I've got topics, subjects I can talk about for days. I'm not going to get bored with doing these videos. And like I said, if the occult stuff isn't your thing, check out my playlist. They're all labeled. So when you see paths and disciplines pop up, you know that's not for you. Whereas you see truth portal, hey, that might be for you. That might be some news, or you just want to hear me ramble about odd topics. But be careful on that one. You guys got to realize, yes, I carry many genres because they're all part of my everyday life. They're the things I like, enjoy, and I will share them with you. So don't get mad when I talk about. I already had somebody unsubscribe from me because, well, for those that don't know, I've been doing something about Wikipedia. How shouldn't be using it as a credible source. And it went into some other stuff I'm not going to mention on the stream, because every time I mention the word, well, every time I mention a scandal, I'll put it that way, I get headaches from YouTube. So I'm not trying to ruin my YouTube stream. But it is a topic that I am going to keep working on, and it'll be separate from these. And there's another one I want you guys to check out. Everybody go listen to the discussion I did on a message to the occult community. It is important. I have not heard back from anyone on that one. You know, it is important because it affects all of our communities. And it's a subject that's not going away. So, like I said, the next one I'll be doing tomorrow. Actually, I'm going to give you guys the time, for those that actually watch this video all the way through. That's another thing. If you're subscribed to my channel, you guys can see my events. Just go to my channel, and my live events are, been trying to schedule them ahead of time so people know. And most parts, really, I plan on doing one tomorrow at 11:30 p.m. Eastern Time on the Paradigms of Magic energy model. Then on Monday, I'm going to do the Paradigms of Magic, the psychological module, and mixture. These will all be done at 11:30. I'll start them at anywhere between 11:30 and 12. I've got a few more that I'm going to be scheduling on here throughout the week, because I've got a few ideas, other topics, genres I want to work with, a couple things I want to re-update. We just stop by and check it out from time to time. Or, like I said, subscribe, hit that little bell so you get my notifications, and you'll know what I'm doing when I'm doing. Because especially when I do the ramblings of the chaotic mind, which is going to be not all the time, probably every week, or just when I need to get shit out of my head. And with that one, you don't never know what I'm going to talk about. Whatever's going through my mind at the time. So, like I said, I've enjoyed doing these. I've enjoyed seeing these videos starting to get more more likes, more views. You guys definitely help me start this year off to a great start. Something, like I said, I've been wanting to do for a long time. I just never did it. But I think it's easier to do it this way than through the magazine that we were doing. Yeah, I know the magazine was, like I said, we were getting 50,000, 60,000, 70,000. I've got one that's got over 100,000 leads and views. But it took time to build that. And right now, like I said, pretty much I'm doing this on my own until I get others involved. And if you guys are interested in getting involved, message me here on Facebook, on YouTube. Go to my channel, my Twitter account's linked there, or go to my About Me and you get my email address. You can email me. For some people that want to participate in doing these videos. I've got the software set up now to where I can actually do a lot of really neat stuff. I know some of you see my XSplit videos that I've done from XSplits that I use in the Hangout. What I'm capable of doing, I'm capable of actually putting my Hangouts in my XSplit. So I can do big group stuff, bring you different things, show you things. So just keep it tuned. You guys have a good night.